again, the name of this talk is Sometimes Trusting the Process Means Letting Go. And this is part 1. The song was Bigger Houses by Dan and Shay, and I will leave the link in the description of the video. I also want to just throw in, some people have made comments and I've gotten back to them as much as I can. They changed the formatting, and so I didn't see some of your comments. But if you left a comment, I will make sure to get back to you. I appreciate all of the comments that all of you are leaving. And it is so good for me to know that this is helpful for you. And I appreciate all the comments that you're making. So, all right, we're going to talk about how to simplify your life. We'll be talking about minimalist philosophy. We will be talking about my favorite minimalism rules. We will be talking about scriptural references to materialism. So as I said, this is going to be in 2 parts. This is part 1, letting go part 1, and it's about things and materialism. And next week will be letting go part 2, and it will be about people and the past. So there is a saying in recovery that says, that is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I don't like to be denigrating about myself, so I would rather say keep it simple, sweetie. But what I have found is that I have a natural tendency to hold on to things because they hold memories. What I've learned from all of the research that I did this week is that you can keep all the memories and let go of the stuff. All the good feelings that you have are inside your heart and your mind, and we don't lose them when we let go of the stuff. I find when I come home, I am bombarded with all the things which each have their own meaning, and getting rid of a lot of it has ended up creating a more serene and peaceful state where I am centered in the present and not overwhelmed by the emotions that are attached to the things that I am seeing. So let's go ahead and talk about what is minimalism. It is a lifestyle practice that is focused on minimizing distractions that keep you from doing what matters to you. It's all about only what adds value and meaning to your life and removing the rest. It's about removing the clutter and using your time and energy for the things that remain. We only have a certain amount of time, energy, and space in our lives. In order to make the most of it, we must be intentional about how we are living each day. In the end, minimalism is less about owning fewer things and more about actively making choices on what kind of things truly matter to us. Adopting a minimalist lifestyle brings about significant mental health benefits. One of the most immediate effects is enhanced focus and clarity. Without the distraction of excess belongings, your mind can relax and concentrate better. Reducing clutter doesn't just tidy up your space, it tidies up your brain too. Fewer material possessions led to lower anxiety levels. There is a shift towards valuing experiences over possessions, and it fosters a sense of freedom and contentment. You start appreciating moments rather than things, which significantly reduces your everyday anxiety. Henry David Thoreau said, "I make myself rich by making my wants few." Mother Teresa said, "The more you have, the more you are occupied. The less you have, the more free you are." All right. So Enzelganger is a website that I have talked to you about before. It's a collaboration of a whole lot of people. The main author has a degree in religious sciences. And so he reminds us that Henry David Thoreau said, "For humans, simplicity is the law of nature. It is a necessary state, must be free of clutter without unnecessary weight. When our lives are simple, it is easier to see where we stand, where we come from, and move towards where we want to go." Thoreau compared the value of simplicity to mathematicians solving an equation to reduce it to their simplest terms. People tend to complicate life. Consumerist culture is always asking us to achieve more and to get more and to strive for more. We live in a performance-driven society, and we always have goals that we are reaching for. Life is cluttered with stuff, social connections, ideas, and stimuli. Hans Hofmann wrote the book Zen and the Art of Stand-Up Comedy, and he said, "The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak." Research states that there is a link between simplicity and well-being. In a study done at the University of Bath, they said voluntary simplicity contributes to subjective well-being in several ways. The experience of greater security, autonomy, competence, and the feeling of doing the right thing. Ancient Greek philosopher Diogenes lived in a barrel. I know you've all heard of him. There's pictures of him living in this barrel. And all he had was some rags and a drinking cup. And one day he saw a child drinking with his hands out of a fountain. And he said, "A child has beaten me in the plainness of living." Hermits and various monastic orders renounce worldly possessions so that they can free themselves of all the burdens. The 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, said, "If one's life is simple, contentment has to come." Simplicity is extremely important for happiness. Having few desires, feeling satisfied with what you have is very vital. Satisfaction with just enough food, clothing, and shelter to protect yourself from the elements. Creating a minimalist environment is removing clutter and makes our senses so that we can perceive better. According to Carl Jung, he said, "Our living spaces are extensions of ourselves. Thus, keeping your spaces clean has direct impact on your psyche." The more stuff you own, the more you worry about, you have to take care of and protect. It's important to ask ourselves, what do we truly need? We can clear out the clutter as much as possible, but we still need to clear out our minds. Minds can be full of rubbish. They still complicate our lives with house problems, lack of money, work, depression, and desire for more. We must work on simplifying our minds also. Overthinking, worrying, and ruminating, making uncomplicated things complicated. It makes the problems much more significant than they are. Today, we are going to start with simplifying our space. So I must have listened to, quite honestly, 25, 30 videos by this woman called the Minimalist Mom. She's going to give us 5 of her favorite minimalism tricks. But before that, let me just describe to you a little bit where she was coming from. So she says that clutter equals stress, and that 8 years ago, she started decreasing the physical items in her house, and she has decreased 85% of what she had. Joshua Becker was one of her teachers, and he wrote the book Becoming Minimalist. And he said, clutter eats away at our time, it zaps our energy, it causes stress, and it makes our life and our home more chaotic. Over time, we have become immune to the clutter. We don't realize the impact that it is having on our mood, on our mental health, on how we feel when we are at home. It is so easy to acquire stuff now. So she reminds us that you just go to Amazon and push a button, and within 24 hours, you're going to have anything you want right at your doorstep. You can go to the Target dollar store and pick something up. You can go to the regular dollar store. And a lot of times, because we think it's cheap, we don't really think about it that much. And we don't really ask ourselves if we need it because it's so cheap. We just say, "Oh, that's cool. It's only $1." And you end up accumulating more and more and more stuff. She realized that she started to become resentful about all of the time that she was cleaning. She said, "Why would I clean up all this stuff? I'm just going to have to clean it up again tomorrow." So to make you understand, she stayed at home. She homeschooled her kids. Her husband worked full time. She had 4 kids. When she wrote this, she had 4 kids, ranging from 2 months to 4 years old. So you can imagine how much cleaning she was doing. So she said, every time I cleaned up all the toys, I turn around and I have to clean them all up again. Every time I wash dishes, I turn around, I had to wash them all again. And she said she started to have this really big resentment. And she also had a resentment because her husband would go out every day and be in the world with adults, and she was home with these kids and doing nothing but cleaning and taking care of the house. And she said she was supposed to be happy and grateful, but the house was constantly a mess. And she said something just didn't feel right. I had this constant inner conflict. Did you know you don't have to have all this stuff? She took a class and she started understanding. People were saying, we think it's normal to fill our spaces with the things, our walls, our furniture, without lots and lots of clothes, with lots and lots of decor, but you don't actually have to have it. You can give yourself permission to get rid of the stuff and you will experience freedom. I don't know if getting rid of all this stuff we're not using would solve the problem, she said, but I had nothing to lose and I decided to give it a chance. So she started Googling minimalism and trying to figure out how far she could go to get rid of all this stuff. And she started off with getting rid of everything they weren't currently using or they anticipated using in the next 6 months. She said, I was just desperate for things to get better. If it was not being used, it was gone. She said most of the stuff she got from garage sales and thrift stores anyway. She said it might have been easier to get rid of it because she didn't spend a whole lot of money on it. But she was so motivated to find out if what Joshua Becker said was true. She said, I don't miss any of the stuff. Everything Joshua Becker said about how much better our life would be was true. The physical stuff didn't lend itself to any happiness. It didn't make my life more enjoyable. I couldn't keep it all clean and organized, and it made me feel very bad about myself as a person. She started to feel like she was incompetent as a wife and as a housekeeper. She said, I have clarity now that the stuff just isn't the point. All of our stuff is inventory. So she talks in all of her videos about all of the stuff we have, thinking of it as inventory. And she says we have way too much to manage and take care of. When we simplify our home to the point we call ourselves minimalists, we have gotten rid of all of the stuff that we don't need anymore. She said she's only keeping the stuff that we are using or appreciating. I want to manage as little inventory as possible, picking out the best of the best. This is worth my time to manage. So she looks at every object and said, is it making me, is it bringing good into my life? Is it making me feel better? Is it bringing me joy? Or am I just feeling horrible about having to clean it all the time? She said she felt a dramatic change in her home, in her relationships, and in confidence in herself. So she read several books. One of them is called Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki. And he talks about this thing called the silent to-do list. And he says every single material item in our house is sending out a message to us. The plant says, water me. The dishes say, wash me, dry me, put me away. The laundry says, wash me, take care of me. The clothes in the closet say, why don't you wear me? Why did you spend money on me? Why haven't you lost the weight so that you can fit into them? She said all of the objects in your house are actually sending a message to you. The things are really telling us what to do, and they're adding to the to-do list in our minds. You're carrying around this subconscious to-do list. And when you walk into your house, you're seeing all this stuff. If you see dishes, you're like, oh my God, I didn't do the dishes. And it sends all these negative energies because of what you didn't do. So, oh my God, I left the clothes on the floor. I didn't pick them up. Oh my God, the laundry is overflowing. I haven't done laundry again. So everything that you look at is sending you a message, and it's basically making you feel bad about yourself because it's telling you all the stuff that you didn't do. And it's adding to our stress. When she decluttered, she said she feels peaceful. There's no to-do list going on in her head regarding all of the things in her house. And she says that's why vacation homes feel so good, because you walk in and you don't look around and think, oh my God, I didn't water the plants, or oh my God, I didn't do the dishes, or the laundry needs to be done. You've got like a clean slate that you're working with. She held up this vase of flowers, and she said, my husband's usually pretty good about getting me flowers during, special events, but I bought myself these roses. And she has this beautiful vase full of roses, and she says it creates beauty and it creates positive messages. It reminds me of the incredible creator that made them. It reinforces my faith in God. No matter what, there is still beauty in the world. It is awe-inspiring. So as she's simplifying the house, what message is this object sending, is what she asks herself. Also with the clothes, does it fit me? Does it make me feel pretty? Does it make me feel special? Is it not something that needs to be altered or needs to be fixed? Or is it something that doesn't match your personality anymore? Because as you know, we all go through phases in our lives where some clothes are perfect and then they're not perfect anymore. She refers to Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo is someone who has a lot of information also on decluttering and cleaning your house. And her question always is, does this spark joy? It is the filter we use as simplifying our house. What message is this sending, and does it spark joy? She says life is too short to be surrounded by stuff that sends us messages that are negative. She turns out to be less stressed out and less anxious in her home, and it's become a peaceful place to come home to. So she's a speaker. She spoke at a homeschool group, and she said she got very emotional. She didn't expect that she would get that emotional, but she looked at them all thinking, you don't have to do it all. You don't have to manage all this stuff. We don't realize it, but the stuff is the problem. We think we are the problem. We blame ourselves. If I could just get organized, if I could just try harder, if I could just clean more often, we think that we are bad or awful or not good housekeepers. Managing way too much inventory is actually the problem. So here are her 5 minimalist rules, what to keep and what to let go. As I said, she got very emotional at this talk, and she said, "You don't understand. You don't need all this stuff. Just start by letting go of the things that you are not using. The house will be easier to manage, and you will have much more confidence in yourself, and you will feel better and less stress and less anxiety." So she borrowed some of these things on the to-do list from the minimalists. The minimalists is a website of two people that give you also all this information about decluttering and letting go. And the first rule she talks about is called the rule of spontaneous combustion. She said, if something in your home spontaneously disappeared, if you would feel relieved and glad that the decision had been made for you and recognize that that thing was not adding value, you were keeping it just because it was a gift or you had spent money on it. If all that is true, that spontaneous combustion made you feel better when it was gone, it's time to let it go. The physical items should be adding value to our life. So she also says, look at things like they're on a meter. She said, sometimes you get an item and you hope that it will make life easier or better, but you get the item home and it actually doesn't work. Sometimes you get varied results. Sometimes it is exactly what we hoped for, and other times not so much. So she talks about how she was up one late and this influencer told her that she needed to buy this thing for her house, this machine for her house, and she bought it and brought it home. And it ended up being more trouble. It was a chopper of vegetables and stuff. And she said it ended up being more trouble to clean it and to take care of it and to, it didn't fit in the dishwasher and all that. She said it was easier to just cut everything up with my knives. She said, so sometimes you spend money on something and you think, oh my God, it's going to be so great. It's going to make my life better. And it doesn't, but you feel like since you spent the money on it, you can't get rid of it. And she said, you need to understand if it loses its value, if you've got this meter of how good it is and how helpful it is or how not helpful it is, if it loses its value, it's time to let go of it. If you don't enjoy maintaining it, let it go. Sometimes items start out useful and over time they outlive their welcome and they become a burden. She said the next rule is this 2020 rule. For some reason, if you're feeling an attachment to something and it's not adding value, but you're having questions about whether to let it go, these are numbers she uses. You can come up with your own number. But she said, if it's something that you could replace in 20 minutes, or if it is something that you could, that cost you less than $20, get rid of it. She said you never end up buying it again. So she uses this example of a piece of Pioneer Woman, like a sugar bowl that her mother gave her. And so the 20 minutes is, could she get it anywhere? If she gave it away, could she replace it again easily? And yes, you can go into any Walmart and get it. She said, is it less than $20? Yes, it was less than $20. So even though it had a little bit of an emotional attachment, she never used it. She never used a sugar bowl. So she said, 2020, use the 2020 rule and get rid of it. The next thing is called Project 333, and it's not something that I could think I could do in a million years. This is by Courtney Cover, and she says, pick out 33 pieces of clothing. That includes accessories, shoes, boots, and winter coats that you commit to for 3 months. She said, pack the rest away. Don't give it away, just pack it away. If it doesn't fit, if it's too dressy, if it's formal wear and you don't have any formal event coming up, if you're not ready to part with it, but you're not actually using it, and it's easy to get dressed in the morning when you have only 33 items. So she had this whole conversation about, and she showed us her closet. She really does. I don't think I could get down to 33, but she says it's a good thing to try. And if you're not actually giving it away, you're just putting it in a box somewhere under your bed or in storage or, in your shed or something like that. She said, then you won't feel so badly about it. And she said, you'd be shocked that you find out how much easier your life is when you open your closet. I personally have the experience of opening my closet and saying, my God, I haven't worn that dress in like a year, and it's time to get rid of it. And that's the other piece we do talk about. If you haven't worn it in 6 months, get rid of it. But to get down to 33 pieces, she says it makes your life so much easier. She said you also take care of your clothes better because you only got 33. So if you take off a top and then you've worn it twice, you just wash it right away and hang it right up right away, as opposed to just putting it in a pile on the floor. She says you take care of it much better if you only have 33. Make sure that you pick the items that fit in your body today. So a lot of times we have clothes in our closet that we used to fit into that we don't fit into anymore. And we keep saying, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I don't know anybody who doesn't say I'm going to lose weight. And the fact is, as you get older, it just doesn't happen as easily as it used to happen. And it just doesn't work as well. And so a lot of times you say, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to look beautiful in that again. And it just doesn't happen. So it's time to part with those things as well if they don't fit your body anymore. So then there's a minimalist rule called 90-90. Have you used it in the last 90 days? And you know for sure that you will use it in the next 90 days. I expanded it to a year, she says. Two things happened. I had a lot more breathing room in my home, and I built up my decluttering muscles, and I gained confidence in myself. So sometimes the thing we have, we inherited from a parent, or we had it from another season in our life. Like if you were working in an office and all of a sudden you have all these office clothes, it keeps you stuck in the past. It becomes a weight and a burden. If you keep too much, it just drags us back, she says. I want to lovingly visit the past, but mostly I want to live life facing forward, moving forward. So all the clothing, all the old craft projects, the hobbies, the memorabilia, the weight was lifted when you let those things go. The next is the wait for it rule. So again, this is to curb your impulse spending. So particularly if it's late at night and you're watching one of those shows where they're telling you, oh, you really need this dress or this bag or this, but also, as I said, Amazon has changed the life of everybody. You literally push a button and you have the thing in 24 hours. And so the wait for it rule, I talked about it last week that I have a limit. So you set your own limit. She sets 24 hours for a certain amount of money, and then a month for if it's like over $100, she sets a month. But wait for it. This is to curb impulsive spending and buying, and also use the use it or lose it rule. So the wait for it is it's never been easier to accumulate possessions, shopping online, wait 24 hours on a certain money level and or 30 days on another one. And then use it or lose it. This is to manage stuff that is serving some needs. If it's not serving some need, it doesn't have any value, get rid of it. Remember, it's not you, it's the stuff that is the problem. All right, let's go scripture. Scripture, we're going to go into materialism. Hebrews 13:5, keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So this is talking about you don't need the things when you've got God's love. Luke 12:15, and he said to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Matthew 6:19, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in to steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. 2 Corinthians 4:18, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen, for the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. 1 Timothy 6:17, God has given us all the things richly to enjoy. The gifts should never obscure the giver. All of them come from God. And the first commandment, which, as you know, is in Exodus chapter 20, says, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. Materialism seeks satisfaction in things that are not God. And Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. All right. So here's what I know. I'm going to say my truth, and if it doesn't feel right, that's okay to you. I believe that all things have energy, that we live in a world that is made up of energy, and absolutely everything has energy. She talked before about these things in your home speaking to you. I believe that all things have energy, and that everything I look at in my home has meaning. And as I look around, I am reliving all of the feelings of the events and times when I wore those clothes or was given that gift or looked at that thing. So everything that I look at, I'm reliving the experience of getting it or wearing it or sharing it with someone else. And so a lot of that is being tied to the past. The feelings which are created by those things are from the past. All of the decluttering is not just about the things, it's about having a clean slate. So recently I did start this decluttering. Often you'll see that I do talks that are based on whatever I'm going through in my life. And I did do this massive decluttering. And it was because I'm doing this renovation out on my porch, and I just wanted to clean the inside as well as the outside. And I started getting rid of stuff. And I started doing all of this reading on minimalism and on decluttering. And I got to understand that a lot of the things that I was holding on to didn't make me happy at all. In fact, actually brought back really bad memories. A lot of them were like a dress that I wore with a person that I'm no longer with, and it just brings back the memory of being with that person. So everything in my house has a meaning and has a memory. And what I find is when you walk in the door and you look around, you're just bombarded energetically with all of these old feelings and old experiences. And so it became overwhelming. My house, and I have a very small house, my house just felt cluttered. There was something everywhere. And I started to understand the incredible joy and beauty and richness of looking at clean space, like some walls where there isn't anything, some floor where it isn't clean, some space where there isn't a, or just one or two objects on it, one cabinet that just has one really beautiful object on it that I love, as opposed to six. The other thing was the cleaning, and she talked about the cleaning a lot, was that if you have a counter and there's 15 things on it, you got to clean all 15 things, you got to take off all 15 things, you got to clean all of them, you got to put them back. And so my house was just never feeling truly clean because I couldn't keep up with it. And just like she said, if there's that much stuff, energetically, it just felt like I was on a rat's wheel going over, and I'd clean it and then it was dirty again. I'd clean it, it was dirty. And it felt to me like I was always cleaning and I was always just trying to maintain a beautiful home. And it was driving me crazy. And I was saying, I just cleaned it yesterday. Like, why do I have to clean it again? But out here, stuff gets really clean and really dirty really fast with all of the dust and the wind and everything that we've got here. And so I have been shocked. I actually said to my best friend yesterday, as I was talking about this talk, this was the first talk that I've done in a long time that was actually fun. Like, I was like, this is such great news. Like, oh my God, this is something tangible you can do that you see the results of immediately. Immediately. I started giving away shit. I've got a whole pile of stuff that's going out tomorrow. So I've been working on this for several weeks. The other thing was books. So I have hundreds of books. Well, the reality is, if I've read it, I'm not going to read it again. If I haven't read it, this myth that someday I'm going to have all this time is a myth. It's just ridiculous. I have all these books that I'll read when I'm retired. Well, when I'm retired, when the hell is that ever going to, like, that's a far time away. I'm not keeping 150, 250, 350 books for when I retire. It's just not, doesn't make sense. It's not working for me. The other thing is that obviously you can get almost all books electronically now. So if I give away the physical book, I can still download it and read it when I want to. Now, obviously, there are some books that are very, very important to me that I've underlined and written in, and that's not going to go. So I'm picky. There are some things that are really important, but then there are a lot of things that are not serving me at all. Part of the problem, I will say, is that I inherited a bunch of stuff. So my mom obviously has passed, my dad has passed, and I inherited a crap load of stuff from them that were art objects and sculptures and paintings and rocks and all of this stuff that was truly beautiful. But I live in a very tiny little space, and to hold on to all of this stuff, because I would have, in my mind, it was like I was afraid I was hurting their feelings if I gave it away. And I had to, this whole process helped me to understand they don't give a crap. They're not looking down on me saying, how could you give that away? The feeling that I had from it and the memory that I have for it. And what she talks about in one of her talks is, if you're that worried about it, take a picture of it and have a picture album with all of the things that you gave away that were your parents that you really love, so that you can go back and look at it. But it was just stupid. I was holding on to this stuff and it didn't need to. And I was not honoring anybody by keeping it. In my mind, I was honoring them by keeping it. Well, I've come to understand that's crap, and it's just making me feel bad. So I was walking into a powerful field of energy with all of the emotions that was attached to all this thing. And I found massive freedom in letting them go, just massive freedom in letting them go. So walk around asking, does this make me feel at peace and serene, and put it aside? Does it remind me of painful feelings or a painful relationship? Let it go. Then I go back over to the peaceful pile again and I say, do I really want it now? Is it serving a purpose now? Am I using it? So my sister has made for me some beautiful things. She made for me a candle that was in a vase, that she made the vase, and And it was very, very beautiful. And when I look at it, I say she loved me enough to make that. And it makes me feel really, really good. So I'm going to keep that. So you look at things and say, does it create in you a feeling of warmth and love and serenity and peace? Does it make you feel good inside? Or not. Now the candle's all burned out, but I still have the vase that she made, that she decorated very beautiful, that the candle was in. And I said to myself, well, I could let it go. And I'm like, no, that's important to me. So you have to be careful about it and ask yourself, is it helping you? Clothes. So clothes, I used to dress up a lot. There was a lot of my jobs, I had to be very dressed up. I very rarely even wore pants. I wore dresses and skirts and all that a lot, and I don't anymore. That thought of 33 pieces was horrifying to me. I can't imagine. That's including your clothes, that's including your underwear, that's including your shoes. To only have 33 pieces, I'm like, socks, like, oh my God. But I'm willing to give it a try. And I won't give away some of this. Some of the stuff I'm giving away just because I don't wear dresses anymore, except for you guys. I put on a dress for you guys, I take it right off and I go back to my sweats. But I don't need all those anymore. So I'm going to try the 33 piece. I'm not sure I can do it. I also asked myself, why am I so concerned about having all these clothes? And I'm going to be honest with you. There was a piece of my ego that said, if I wear the same shirt every week, people are going to think I'm poor. And I hate to admit that, but I had to do a lot of writing and I had to do a lot of journaling. And I've come to a place now where I don't give a crap what they think, number one. But number two, they don't care. Really, there's nobody that's going to say, oh, you wore that shirt last week. Nobody gives a rat's ass. They've got their own lives. And so for me to get all caught up in this crap that's just ego, it doesn't make sense. It's not worth doing. I'm not doing it anymore. Say bye-bye, all those clothes. More importantly, I don't care about what they think. And having my closet so stuffed that I can hardly fit anything in them, or my drawers that if I pull something out, other things will fall out. That's just not working for me anymore. I'm just not doing it. Simplifying life makes it so much easier. So she talks a lot about monks cleaning, and that cleaning is a spiritual act. There are 3 books. She has a talk that called I Tried a Monk's Guide to Cleaning House and Mind. Some books that were recommended that I actually checked out were The Urban Monk, A Monk's Guide to Happiness, and The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So they all talk about cleaning as a spiritual act. And I've got 100% agreement with that. So time to reflect, to be more present. So for instance, doing dishes, you fill your basin with soapy hot water, you feel your hands in the water, you feel the soap, you feel the bubbles, you smell the smell, you wash it, you dry it, you put it away, and you're present in that moment. So it's almost like a meditation. They have a whole meditation about washing the floors. Monks clean the toilets twice a day, which I found phenomenal. But anyway, they think of it as a spiritual exercise. And so there's something to be learned from all that about cleaning being a spiritual exercise. Time to reflect, to be more present. So it's all part of a new lifestyle where you're keeping in life what matters and letting go of what doesn't. Give yourself permission to let go. You get to choose. So she talks about some stories of minimalists where all of their friends were horrified when they got down to, 2 t-shirts and 1 sweater, and they're like, oh, it's horrible. Again, your life, you choose, you do what you want to do. Find out what matters to you, live your life. Minimalism encourages you to ask lots of questions about what's important to you. Also, I really like the whole idea of collect experiences and not things. Keep the things that contribute to your life in positive ways and get rid of the rest. Clean out your mind. As you look around and have a cleaner slate, you are not bogged down with all of this stuff. There are many biblical references to not storing up things. Things don't matter as much as people do. Use your time, your money, and your energy to cultivate your friendships and to show more love to the people that matter to you. Simplify your life and focus on what really matters, being your best and highest self, and living a life of accumulating strong, solid, loving relationships and not accumulating things. Letting go of the materialism opens the door to peace, serenity, and joy, and the ability to grow. The ability to live fully present in the now. Sometimes a big part of trusting the process is letting go. And so it is. Remember at all times, the power is in you. It always has been, and it always will be.